What is going on, people inside that internet machine? Welcome to this episode of Odds and Ends. And one of my sort of channel objectives this year is to make more gamey type videos. So tonight we're talking about the 10 easiest NES games. All right, so I thought this would be kind of a fun video to make because I know a lot of you set a lot of gaming goals for the year. And, you know, Nintendo is awesome. But a lot of times the gaming goals are like beat X number of games. Like everybody has a certain number of games that they want to beat. I do 12 to 24 games a year. That's sort of my goal. Some of you have goals like I want to beat games on consoles I never play or that I didn't have growing up. So maybe you didn't have a Nintendo growing up. So this would be a great place to start if you're looking for some easy games to kind of beat. Another thing that I'm starting to see, and I'm very excited about it, I asked Captain Algebra, like a year and a half ago, he was streaming a Nintendo game. I said, how many, and he beats a lot of games, so I asked him how many Nintendo games he has beaten. And like any good teacher, he's got everything charted and plotted out on an Excel spreadsheet or something. And he said he had beaten like 102 or 103 Nintendo games. So I took on the challenge of, I would like to beat 100 Nintendo games in my lifetime. How do we get there, right? And some of you guys have those same goals. I want to beat 50 games on the Nintendo in my lifetime, 100 games, whatever it is, all the Capcom games, whatever. So I thought this would be a great video to make to help you along and maybe help you achieve some of those gaming goals. Now tonight specifically, we're going to be talking about certain types of games. So games that we're excluding are sports games, RBI baseball, Tecmo Bowl, pretty easy games to get through, but I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. No edutainment games. You could beat Sesame Street, ABC, Sesame Street 1, 2, 3, Sesame Street, ABC 1, 2, 3, the combo cart. That's 3 games. Match up some letters and shapes and do some simple math. Pretty easy games. No game show games or board games, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy. Great games, you should play them. Anticipation is like a board game, Monopoly, stuff like that. And no sort of looping arcade games that don't have a definitive ending. So here's an example. Contra's more of an arcade game. It has an ending, right? The whole thing blows up, the helicopter flies away, credits, good, and then it loops again. Games that I'm talking about are like Tiger Heli. After 5 levels, the game sort of loops. Donkey Kong 3, after you've beaten the 15th level, that's considered that you've completed the game, but they don't have endings. You know what I mean? Like there's no ending screen. So none of those we'll be talking about tonight, but yeah, definitely try and knock some of those off your list because they're kind of easy and you can take care of them pretty quickly, less than 20, 30 minutes. All right, with all of that out of the way, let's get started. I did rank these in order in my opinion on what I thought was like 10 through number 1. But difficulty is sort of in the eye of the beholder. What is easy for me may be difficult for you, and what's easy for you might be difficult for me. So if you have any really easy Nintendo games that aren't on this list, make sure you leave a comment down below and put it on there. And if we have enough, I could do a part 2, because you know I love me some Nintenders, some Nintendo tapes. All right, coming in at number 10 is Cabal. Milton Bradley, Rareware. It's a cover-based shooter where you're shooting stuff in the background. And the whole gimmick is to shoot enough enemies and enemy vehicles and blow stuff up while you're hiding behind rocks and stones and barrels and stuff. You can shoot, you can dodge, you get a handful of continues. But all in all, the game really isn't that difficult once you realize that all of the enemy spawn points are exactly the same. So it's easy to anticipate where the next set of enemies is going to come from and take them out. The bosses, predictable patterns, stuff like that. But Cabal is one of those games that I sort of consider in that last group of NES hidden gems. So if you're looking for a fun game to play that's really easy to beat, doesn't cost an arm and a leg, you can't go wrong with Cabal. All right, so coming in at number 9 is a game that I really feel is underrated, underappreciated, but also gets over beaten up in the gaming landscape, and that's Jaws. It's an LJN game. All those games are garbage according to some reviewers, but Jaws I think is sort of misunderstood. The core gameplay is pretty easy. You need to go from point port A to port B, and through your travels, you're going to get into some random encounters. You shoot the sea creatures, and really what you want are the white seashells. That is currency. Once you go to the port, you level up. It does it automatically for you. Then you go back to the next port, then back to the other port, then the first port, then the second port, and you continuously do that. It's a very simplistic game, and you really only need to level up to like 3 or 4 before you can really start attacking Jaws and take him out. If you know what you're doing, this game can be like a 20-minute game. And like I said, it's very simplistic in its design. It's a little bit misunderstood. Is it a great game? No. But is it playable? Can you beat the game? Sure. And I think it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. So coming in at number 9, Jaws. Coming in at number 8 is Breakthrough. Now, Breakthrough is essentially an isometric, side-scrolling shooter type game. The thing is like, there's 5 or 6 areas. You get unlimited continues. There aren't really a lot of enemies on the screen, so it's easy to sort of memorize where everything is. There's a very limited selection of power-ups, so you don't have to kind of worry about, I need this power-up to beat this section or anything like that. And to further help you, each level has 3 checkpoints. So when you die and you lose all your lives, you can continue and start right at that checkpoint. So eventually you will beat this game. It's got a nice variety of landscapes, and the vehicle itself uses sort of a momentum physics where you need to speed it up or slow it down to make jumps over, boulder landslides or broken parts of bridges. You can also use the jump as a very powerful defensive type weapon in the game or strategy, as you can jump over a lot of the enemies and the tanks and all of the other turrets and landmines, everything else that's going to cause you grievance on the field of battle. It's very short, and Breakthrough is one of those really cheap games. It's really easy. You get unlimited continues. You start right at the checkpoint that you last died at, and it shouldn't take you that long to beat it. So yeah, number 8 is Breakthrough. Number 7 on tonight's list is Barbie. Now, don't let this title fool you. Barbie is actually a pretty serviceable platformer. Greatest game of all time? No. Why would you play it when there are so many other great platformers on the NES? But it is incredibly easy. It's bright, colorful, and once you kind of get the hang of how Barbie functions, how she jumps, and how she can use her environment to reach different platforms and things like that, it's an incredibly easy game. There is an underwater level. That's the level that caused me the most grievance. But other than that, there's not really much to say about Barbie. All the enemies are in the same spots. There's not really a lot of randomness in the game. You do get a couple continues, I think. You can game over, and you should be able to beat it maybe a couple times after you've played it a couple times. Again, not very difficult, but not a game that you would normally think about playing if you wanted to beat a certain number of Nintendo games. I'm trying to get to 50 Nintendo games beaten in my lifetime. You know what? Barbie's only going to take a couple hours. Let me throw this in. And like I said, it's not the worst game on the NES. It's a quite serviceable platformer. It's bright and colorful, all those things. But yeah, number 7 is Barbie. It's pretty damn easy. Coming in at number 6 is Felix the Cat. Now, this is sort of an expensive game, so if you can emulate it, or I don't know if this is something that's on like the Switch store or something. I'm lucky I own it physically. But Felix the Cat is a really easy game. The enemy placements aren't difficult, and it seems like you're always leveling up or powering up, and then you get an extra life every 50,000 points, so just try to collect everything. It's a standard platformer where you kind of start with a boxing glove punch, and when you collect these hearts, you get an additional power-up like a little airplane or a tank or something. And then when you get hit, you just revert back down to the last power-up that you had. So it's not like in Mario where you get the fire flower and then you take a hit and now you're small Mario again. So it's very incremental like that. I think it's only 8 or 9 levels. You might get a couple continues, but I think I beat this game the second time I attempted it. Again, not very hard. Lots of power-ups, lots of ways to keep your energy up and your power-ups on point. And you should be able to motor through Felix the Cat pretty quickly. It's a pretty easy game. So what we got here? Number 6, Felix the Cat, which generally makes a lot of these easiest Nintendo games lists. All right, so coming in at number 5 is a childhood favorite of mine, a game that I used to rent all the time. Who doesn't love Disney Capcom? Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. Again, pretty simple gameplay, very lenient with the number of hits that you get and the lives. There's a couple branching paths you can take. The bosses are all sort of the same. Pick up the red ball and throw it at the boss. You can throw vertically and what's this one? Horizontally, the old left to right action. And it really is not a difficult game, but it is an incredibly fun game to play. So just like all those Disney Capcom games, right? They're all pretty fun to play. Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers shouldn't take you more than a couple hours to kind of learn and beat. It's incredibly easy, like I said, number 5 on this list. Childhood classic of mine. Again, another game that sort of gets on all of the easiest Nintendo games of all time list, but it's true. You should be able to see the end credits in like a couple hours. Coming in at number 4 is another childhood favorite of mine. I had this game, loved it as a kid. It is Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, another Capcom title, believe it or not. And in Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, it's like Disney World is closed, and you have to go around and find these 6 keys, and each key is in a level that sort of resembles one of the rides at Disney World, like the Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, the train, the Thunder Canyon, I think it's called. There are a couple levels that are a little difficult. The one is the trivia level. You have to go to the person that's got the dog. The dog has the key, and you have to answer trivia questions about Disney. However, you do get unlimited continues, and you can keep trying them over and over until you actually get the key. The other one that's kind of difficult is Space Mountain. It's basically a quick time event. Push left when it says push left, push A when it says push A, push up, and then right, and then A when it says to do so. That one can take a little bit to learn, but you can collect these little tokens or icons, and with those you can buy like 1-ups, you can buy more health, you can buy invincibility. So the game really isn't that difficult, and it's extremely satisfying to finish because it is a Disney Capcom game. It's, nostalgic, classic, and it's, like I said, it's pretty easy, and probably most of you have beaten this game, or you've at least played it but haven't finished it. So I recommend finishing Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. So coming in at number 3, again, this is one of those games that might be easy for me but difficult for someone else. But I had it when I was a kid, so I've been playing this game for like 40 years. And it is Kung Fu, one of my all-time favorite Nintendo games. I love that startup, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I love that. And Kung Fu's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. It's only 5 levels. You kick and punch your way through all the enemies. You get to an end boss, you take them out. A lot of them you can take out pretty quickly. And then you fight the final boss. And at the end, Thomas saves Sylvia. You get the nice end credit scene, the cut scene there. And then the game just sort of loops over and over again. But I will say with Kung Fu, there is a little bit of a learning curve because some of the enemy placements can be a little bit difficult. But again, it's only 5 levels. So you should be able to learn it pretty quickly as the levels aren't very long. It plays on a 2D plane, so you're only kicking and punching forward or backward. You know what I mean? So again, an easy game for me. Some of you may not have finished this one yet, but I definitely recommend beating Kung Fu because it's not only awesome, but it's also super easy. Coming in the number 2 spot is another Disney Capcom game, The Little Mermaid. I popped this in a couple years ago, and I beat it like my first time through in about 20-25 minutes. It's obviously not going to be as difficult as a Contra or a Ninja Gaiden because the game is made for kids, and it's an underwater sort of adventure game. There's a lot of secrets, actually. Looks great, sounds great. The bosses are kind of fun. Ariel whips her tail and makes little bubbles, and you throw the bubbles at the enemies. But other than that, the game is really short. It's really easy. You're probably going to beat it on your first time. If you've ever beaten like a Mario game, you're definitely going to be able to beat Little Mermaid on the Nintendo. Coming in at number 1, the easiest Nintendo game I've ever played in my life, Guerrilla War. Now, I don't really play a lot of military games, especially top-down military shooter games, because, I watched the AVGN episode on Akari Warriors, and they all look like Nightmare. However, Guerrilla War, Great game, really fun to play. You get unlimited continues, and you continue right where you died. So as long as you keep pressing the start button, you really don't have to shoot or do anything until you get to the boss. And then you have to shoot and kill the boss to get to the next level. The real fun in Guerrilla War is after you've beaten it. It's going to take 25 minutes to beat Guerrilla War, maybe. After you've beaten it, then try and go back and do like, okay, I need to do this on 3 continues. I want to do this on 2 continues. And sort of challenge yourself that way. But after that, after you've already beaten it the first time, you've already beaten the game. But yeah, Guerrilla War, you don't have to shoot anything. You can just walk right through the game if you wanted to. I don't think it's fun playing that way, but you totally could. I played this game, beat it the first time, and then I was like, I'm going to try and do this under 5 continues, 1 continue per level. Then I'm going to try and do it 3 continues. I almost made it to 3 continues. Couldn't do it because it's kind of tough in some parts, but if you're trying to do a challenge like that. But Guerrilla War on the NES, unlimited continues, continue right where you died. It's only like 5 levels. It's pretty easy, 30 minutes tops, and you will have another Nintendo game crossed off your list. All right, guys, that is going to do it. That is my top 10 easiest Nintendo games of all time. What are some Nintendo games that you think are easy? Leave a comment down below. And like I said, if there's enough in the comment section, we could do a part 2 to this video. What did you think of these games? Have you beaten any of these games? Do you agree or disagree? Like I said, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share on social media. Don't forget to bang that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all of your CM Retro gaming goodness. Guys, take care of yourselves, and we will see you on the next one.